Look up in the sky. Is that a bird? No. Is that Superman? No. What you're seeing is my midlife crisis. Remote control airplanes. That's right. I'm a middle-aged man flying little tiny remote control airplanes. And I gotta be honest with you, it's way cheaper than that canary yellow convertible Corvette. And it's way less drama than dating that 21-year-old yoga instructor. And of the three, well, it's the only one my wife truly approves of. So, remote control planes it is. But to be honest with you, it's not so much a midlife crisis as it is a midlife fascination. I've always been fascinated with flight. We've always been fascinated with so many things that happen in our lives. Remember? Remember when you were fascinated with eating dirt? Well, luckily that one passes. But a lot of fascinations come up and move on throughout our lives. I've been fascinated with flight my entire life. In fact, when I was 12 years old, I bought a remote control plane. I sunk all of my money into it, every last penny. And then fear washed over me. The fear of making a mistake. And fear is a reaction. I was reacting to, well, what if I crashed? Well, if I crashed, I wouldn't be able to replace the plane. All my money, gone. I was even afraid to ask for help of the people that are there to help me, my parents. I wouldn't ask them for help. What I would do is I would gas up the plane and then I would taxi it on the driveway and just do that for like hours. And my parents started to come inside. My parents were like, oh, have you been out running the ostrich? That's what they call my plane, the ostrich, because it only ran, it never flew. And eventually I sold that and let that fascination go on. Today I'm going to share 3 insights that are here to help you let your fascination take flight. This past summer, I'm standing at City Park, Denver for a farewell picnic to a good friend of mine. While off in the distance, I see this 12-year-old boy. And he's got in his hand a remote control. And when I see what he's looking at, I see that he's flying a little remote control airplane around the park. So I went up to him, like, where did you get this? He's like, hobby shop. I'm like, done deal. I went to the hobby shop, I bought the plane, I bring it back to City Park, I put the batteries into the remote control, put the battery into the plane. Oh, God, where'd all these trees come from? There's some kind of weird magnetism between trees and little planes. It's like they just want to find each other. But I avoid the trees on the way out. And I make this banking turn. All of a sudden, the plane's coming back to me. And suddenly, I don't know what to do. Left is right, right is left. And what do we do when we freak out? We panic and we freeze like fainting goats as I watch the plane fly over my head into my worst nightmare, a tree. Which brings up my first insight. Environment is key. Flying it in a park is not a place to fly a plane. I need to go to an RC, a remote control airfield. They exist. I found one. And guess what's not there? Trees. Environment is critical because in the environment, you're going to find your tribe, the people that are interested in the same thing that you are. And we know what that feels like, right, fellow Toastmasters? This is that kind of environment. I remember in 2014 when I joined Cherry Creek Toastmasters. The speaker on stage is none other than 2000 world champion of public speaking, Ed Tate. And he's here and he's giving his farewell speech. And he imparts this little bit of knowledge upon us. This is not the place where you bring your best. This is a place where you try to stretch yourself, where you try new things. This is a safe place. For you see, in your environment, you're surrounded by your tribe and people who are here to lift you up the entire time. So for your next fascination, make sure you find the right environment. And then, when you find it, patience. Oh my God, patience. Patience, 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 which is what I didn't have with my plane. I took it out to Cherry Creek. I put it onto a taxiway. As it taxis on there, there is an actual whole runway. But as I get out to the runway, as opposed to going to the start of the runway, I'm so excited that I just throttle up and I use a small snippet of the runway. And you know what happens next. I run out of runway before I take flight. And that front wheel goes over the top of that runway and the wing twists back and I bust a wing. And that's when one of the old fly dogs out there comes out to me. He's like, you know, the one thing that's of no use to a pilot, that is the runway that is behind you. You see, when we don't have the patience and use the entire runway, we're never going to gain the momentum that's going to bring the wind underneath our wings, that's going to give us that lift to get our fascination off the ground. And let's say perhaps you're fascinated with learning how to play the ukulele. Well, give yourself the patience to learn those chords. Those hand movements are difficult. Or perhaps it's making sourdough bread. That's something you're fascinated by, right? That's a pandemic fascination. Well, have the patience to let that dough rise. Because then it's going to taste so much sweeter. Which brings me to my third insight that this same pilot shared with me. And that is, once you're getting into that fascination and it really gets up into the air, for planes is to get the plane 3 mistakes above the ground. For you see, when the plane is 3 mistakes above the ground, you can have the confidence to make a mistake. You can have the courage to try something new. Because let's be honest, as human beings, we all make mistakes. And we need to be confident in our mistakes because they're not going to kill you. I mean, yeah, I may crash the plane, but I'm just going to go buy another one. I'm not going to give up. The next time, when you're out and you look up in the sky, you might see a bird, you might see a plane, heck, you might even see Superman. Think about these 3 insights. The environment. Find the tribe, the people that are like-minded, that are interested in the same thing that you are. Have the patience to learn something new. Don't be in such a rush. And be open to making a mistake. And ask yourself this question. What's it going to take? What's it going to take to let your fascination take flight?